Why do you ache for someone who barely sees you? It is not just rejection. It is not just loneliness. It is something deeper, something more ancient. It is that quiet, haunting feeling that you've been here before, waiting, hoping, holding your breath for someone who will never come closer. And no matter how much you know, no matter how many times you tell yourself to move on, your heart refuses to let go. Maybe you see their face in people passing by. Maybe you reread the last message they sent, even if it was nothing special. Maybe you play it cool on the outside, but feel like you are breaking into pieces when you are alone. That ache, that low, steady hum beneath your chest does not go away. It hums when you wake up. It follows you through your day. It settles into your sleep like a shadow. You might wonder, what is wrong with you? Why can't you just stop feeling this? Why does their silence still echo louder than your own thoughts? You try to rationalize it. Tell yourself they were not that great. Remind yourself of all the ways they were unavailable, cold, inconsistent. But none of it works, does it? You already know they can't love you. You already know this road leads nowhere. And yet, your heart stays. Here is something no one tells you. You are not staying because you are weak. You are staying because something inside you is still trying to be seen. Not by them, by you. The love that feels one-sided, that bruises your soul just by being quiet, is not just about them. It is a signal, a flare, a whisper from the part of you that was never chosen, never held, never fully seen. The person you long for is not the answer. They are the mirror. A mirror that reflects back a hunger you have carried for years, maybe even since childhood. The hunger to be chosen without having to chase, to be loved without having to shrink. You see, this pain did not start with them. It started long before, and it will not end by getting them back, because it was never about them in the first place. That is the twist no one wants to face. The ache is not yours to cure by winning someone over. It is yours to understand. But I want to say this clearly, because maybe no one has said it to you before. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are not foolish for loving someone who could not love you back. What you felt was real. What you gave was true. And even if they could not meet you there, that does not make your love worthless. It makes it rare. There is a certain kind of love that exists like a signal to the soul. It arrives not to be fulfilled, but to awaken you, to pull up a buried part of yourself and hold it into the light. That is why it hurts so much. Not because you lost something, but because something inside you is being asked to rise. So if you are still stuck in that loop, if your mind is screaming, let it go, but your heart is whispering, just one more look, you are not broken. You are being called inward. This is not about forgetting them. It is about remembering you. The part of you that keeps reaching out isn't pathetic. She is powerful. She is trying to bring something home, something you've been taught to leave behind. Maybe it is softness. Maybe it is worthiness. Maybe it is your voice. But whatever it is, it has nothing to do with them. It is yours, and it has always been waiting for you. You do not have to fix yourself. You do not have to harden your heart to heal. You just have to listen to the ache, to the silence underneath it, and to the version of you who still believes love is possible. Because it is. It just might not look like the person you thought it would, and maybe that is the beginning, not the end. If this stirred something in you, hold on. There is more. This is only the first step. You did not fall in love with just a person. You fell into a reflection. You thought it was about their eyes, their voice, the way they made you feel seen in a world that often walks past you. You told yourself it was their kindness, or their mystery, or their quiet pull. But the truth is, what drew you in was far less about them and far more about you. There is something hauntingly familiar about the way they ignore you, the way they come close, and then disappear. It is not just painful, it is recognizable. Like a memory you cannot name, but your body remembers. That push and pull, that not quite love, that almost, it echoes a pattern so deep, it has become part of your emotional blueprint. You were not just drawn to them. You were drawn to a story you have been trying to rewrite. Somewhere, long ago, you learned that love had to be earned. Maybe it was through silence in your home growing up. Maybe it was through inconsistency love given in crumbs, attention that came only when you behaved, or succeeded, or stayed quiet. Somewhere along the way, love stopped being something you received freely. It became something you chased. So when someone comes along who gives just enough to keep your hope alive, but never enough to make you feel safe, you recognize it. Not consciously, but soul deep. It fits the shape of something you know, and your heart, aching for resolution, thinks maybe this time will be different. Maybe this time you will be chosen without having to beg. But the person in front of you is not the one who wounded you. They are not here to fix what was broken. They are the mirror reflecting the parts of you that still do not believe you are worthy of more. That is why their rejection cuts so deeply. It is not just about them walking away. It is about everything it brings up. The echo of a childhood door that never opened. The silence that followed your tears. The feeling of being invisible in places where you should have felt safe. And suddenly, it is not just them you are hurting over. It is every version of you who was never fully seen. This is the part that is hard to face, because it means the pain is not entirely theirs to answer for. It means your longing is not just about this moment, this person, this heartbreak. It is older. It is rooted in a deeper hunger, a hunger to feel whole, to feel worthy, to feel like you matter, without having to shrink yourself into someone else's definition of lovable. And this is where things begin to shift. When you see them as a mirror, not a soulmate, something begins to change. You stop asking, "Why won't they choose me?" and begin asking, "Why do I keep giving my heart to people who can't hold it?" You stop chasing closure from them and start searching for the parts of you that need your attention the most. The part that still hopes someone else will give you what you refuse to give yourself. The part that still believes if you can just be enough, pretty enough, patient enough, small enough, then maybe you will finally be loved. But here is the truth that changes everything. You were never meant to be chosen by someone who cannot even see themselves clearly. You were meant to choose yourself, over and over, until it becomes second nature. Because the one who walks away is not the end of the story. They are the invitation. The moment you realize this pain is not punishment, it is a portal. Through it, you get to see yourself as you truly are, not as you were taught to be. You get to reclaim the love you kept outsourcing. You get to stop asking broken people to confirm your worth. It is not easy. It takes time. It takes falling apart and rebuilding yourself with gentleness. But it starts with a shift, one that says, maybe this person is not my path forward. Maybe they are the mirror showing me where I still need to come home. And that changes everything. You are not here to endlessly reflect someone else's inability to love. You are here to recognize the reflection, to understand what it is showing you, and then to rise. Not by forcing your heart to harden, but by learning to see the love you keep trying to give away inside yourself. So if their absence still haunts you, if you keep reaching for a text that never comes or a sign that they finally see you, remember this: their silence is not your proof of failure. It is your proof of growth. It means you are finally looking in the right direction, not at them, but at you. And that is the mirror that matters most. You keep reaching, and they keep slipping through your fingers, not because they are cruel, not even because they are distant, but because something in them stays just out of reach and something in you keeps chasing what cannot be caught. This is not just heartbreak. It is a pattern. A quiet hidden thread runs through your life, pulling you toward the same kind of person over and over. You think each time will be different. You think this time maybe they will stay. But instead, you find yourself back in that familiar ache, wanting more from someone who cannot give it. It feels personal. It feels like a flaw inside you, like maybe you are too much or never enough. But what if the truth is not about what is wrong with you? What if you are chasing something older than them, older than you even realize? There is a shadow inside you that knows this story by heart. It knows what it feels like to wait, to try, to hope. It knows how to reach for love that stays behind glass, visible but untouchable. And that shadow, though it may seem like your enemy, is not here to destroy you. It is here to be seen. Most people think shadows are bad, ugly, dark. But your shadow is not your shame. It is your missing piece. The part of you that learned to survive by hiding, by staying quiet, by making itself smaller just to be safe. It holds the memory of when love was confusing, conditional, when you had to earn affection through perfection, or silence, or sacrifice. So when you meet someone who stirs that old ache, your shadow perks up. It thinks, "Ah, this is familiar. I know how to do this." And you begin again, giving too much, hoping too hard, shrinking yourself to fit into the little space they offer, thinking, if you can just be good enough, patient enough, they will choose you, they will stay. But what you are really chasing is not them. You are chasing the hope that this time, the story will end differently. And that is the trap. Because you are not rewriting the past, you are reliving it. You are locked in a loop that began long before this person came along. A loop that says love must be earned, that your needs are too heavy, that your worth depends on how much someone else is willing to give. But none of that is true. That is the lie your shadow learned to believe. And the secret no one talks about is this. The only way to end the pattern is not by getting them to stay, it is by stopping the chase. Stopping the chase does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you numb your heart or pretend you do not feel anything. It means you stop pouring yourself out for people who cannot receive you. It means you learn to sit with the ache instead of chasing someone to fix it. It means you begin to turn toward yourself with the same love you keep handing to everyone else. The pattern breaks when you realize that the one who needs you most has been inside you all along. And here is something tender, something true. You do not have to outrun your shadow. You have to hold it. You have to listen to the part of you that is still scared, still waiting, still unsure if she deserves to be loved without conditions. Because she does. And so do you. The longing you feel is not weakness. It is a signal, a compass pointing you inward. It is your soul asking for a new ending, one that starts not with someone else finally seeing you, but with you seeing yourself clearly, gently, and completely. That is not easy work. It is messy. It is slow. It feels lonely at first, because walking away from the chase leaves behind silence. But in that silence, something beautiful starts to grow. Wholeness, presence, power. You stop being the one who begs, and you become the one who chooses. Not out of pride, but out of clarity. You finally understand that love is not supposed to feel like hunger. It is not supposed to make you feel small. Real love meets you where you are, not where you have to prove yourself. So if you keep finding yourself in the same story, if you keep chasing people who cannot love you back, it is not because you are broken. It is because part of you is trying to finish an old chapter with someone new. But that chapter is not theirs to close. It is yours. And maybe this time, the way out is not to run harder, love louder, or try longer. Maybe it is to stop, breathe, and ask yourself, what if I no longer need to be chosen by anyone but me? That question might be the beginning of everything. There is a part of you that keeps choosing the same kind of pain, not because you enjoy it, not because you do not know better, but because some wounds are so familiar, they start to feel like home. You might think you are unlucky in love, that you just keep meeting the wrong people at the wrong time. But if you slow down, if you really pay attention, you might notice something deeper. It is not just about who shows up in your life. It is about who you let in, who you stay for, who you wait for, even when you are breaking. And here is the hard truth that often hides in plain sight. Sometimes your wound picks for you, not your heart, not your soul, but the part of you that was hurt before you had words to describe it. The part that got used to being overlooked, or dismissed, or not fully loved. That wound grew wise. It learned how to survive. It became sharp, protective, quiet, and it started whispering to you in ways you did not even realize. When someone comes along who feels distant, unpredictable, emotionally unavailable, that wound pays attention because it recognizes something. It says, I know how to do this. I know how to chase. I know how to wait. And just like that, you are not choosing from your worth. You are choosing from your scar. This is not weakness. This is programming. Emotional muscle memory. You are not failing. You are repeating. And the hardest part? That wound does not want to be reopened, but it does want to be seen. Again and again, it will nudge you toward what it knows, because in the back of your mind, you still believe if you can just get it right, if you can just love someone well enough, they will finally love you back. And when they do, the pain will vanish, the wound will close. The story will finally end differently, but it never does, because love that is driven by a wound is not love. It is a plea. It is a silent voice asking, am I enough yet? Do you see me now? Will you finally stay? That is why it hurts so deeply when they do not choose you. You are not just losing them. You are losing the fantasy that they could undo years of not feeling chosen. You are watching the door close on a hope that lived in you for so long. It became part of your identity. But here is something gentle and powerful I want you to hear. You do not have to keep choosing from your pain. You can feel the wound and still choose differently. You can notice the ache and still walk away. You can love someone deeply and still let them go. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself more. This kind of choice is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not the stuff movies are made of. It is quiet, slow, brave. It happens in the moments no one sees, when you silence the message that says you have to earn love and start listening to the truth that says you already are love. Because the wound will always want to go back. That is its nature. It thinks healing is proving you can survive what hurt you. But healing is not surviving. Healing is choosing not to relive it again. That means saying no to what almost feels like love. Saying no to what drains you. Saying no to the high of being noticed for a moment and forgotten the next. Saying no to patterns that leave you empty just because they are familiar. And the more you say no to what wounds you, the more space you make for what restores you. This is the turning point. When the ache no longer owns you. When the past no longer drives your future. When your choices begin to align with your wholeness, not your hunger. It will not feel like a thunderstorm. It will feel like a steady rain, washing something old away. You might cry. You might question yourself. You might feel tempted to run back to the thing that almost felt like love. But you will not. Because something in you, Something deeper than the wound has finally awakened, and it says, I remember now. I remember who I was before I learned to chase. I remember what it felt like to rest in my own presence. I remember what it means to belong to myself. So let the wound speak, but do not let it choose. You have done that long enough. Now, it is your turn to choose, not from fear, not from old patterns, not from the hope that someone else will heal what someone else broke, but from the truth that you are already whole. And that is a truth no one can take from you. There comes a moment when the ache no longer defines you, when the story of chasing someone who could not love you back starts to dissolve, when you stop looking at your reflection through their eyes and begin to see yourself clearly, quietly, fiercely for the first time. This moment does not arrive like a thunderclap. It arrives in stillness. Maybe you are sitting alone on your bed. Maybe you are walking down the street, lost in thought. Maybe it is late, and the silence is heavier than usual, and something in you whispers, not in words, but in feeling, I am done handing my power to people who cannot hold it. That is not just growth. That is awakening. You have carried so much for so long. The weight of proving yourself, the exhaustion of overgiving, the fear of being too much, and beneath all of that, the quiet hope that one day someone would see the light in you and stay. But what if that someone was always supposed to be you? There is a hidden power in you, not the loud kind, not the performative kind, but the steady, soul-deep kind. The kind that remembers, the kind that watches all the pieces fall apart and still believes there is more ahead. The kind that does not beg, does not chase, does not shrink. The kind that roots you. This power has been buried under layers of old stories. Stories that told you love had to hurt. That said you were only worthy if someone else said so. That convinced you your softness was weakness, your longing was shame, your truth was too loud. But those were never your stories. You inherited them. From broken places, from tired people. From a world that does not always know what to do with women who feel deeply, speak honestly, and refuse to settle for half-hearted love. The truth is, you were never too much. You were never the problem. You were just waiting for permission to stop dimming your light. And now, you do not need that permission, because here is something sacred and real. Your longing was never a flaw. It was a compass. It pointed you toward your own becoming. It led you through shadows so you could find your center. It showed you what love is not, so you could begin to understand what love truly is. You do not awaken by hardening. You awaken by remembering. Remembering that you do not need to be chosen by someone else to be whole, that your worth was never meant to be proven, only reclaimed. That real love, true, steady, soul-anchored love, will never ask you to abandon yourself. This is not about building walls. It is about becoming rooted, so rooted in your truth that you no longer collapse at the sound of someone else's silence, so grounded in your wholeness that you stop handing out pieces of yourself just to feel seen. Your power lives in the moment you say, I no longer need to earn what I already am. That is the shift. That is when you stop living in survival mode and start stepping into your real life. A life where your voice is not muted to make others comfortable. A life where your boundaries are not apologies. A life where your energy is no longer poured into people who treat it like a convenience. You will feel it in small ways first. You will hesitate before texting someone who never shows up. You will pause before over-explaining yourself. You will sit with your own sadness instead of begging someone to rescue you from it. And slowly, your center will grow stronger. You will stop running after love like it is something outside you. You will begin to carry it, quietly and proudly, inside your own being. And you will start to attract differently. Not because you are trying harder, but because you are no longer trying at all. You are simply being. That is the hidden power in you. The one that was never lost, only waiting. Waiting for you to stop abandoning yourself. Waiting for you to see what has been true all along. That your love is not something to beg, for it is something to honor. So let the old hunger fall away. Let the ache turn into knowing. Let the pattern die so that something real can be born. Not in them, in you. Because once you awaken that part of you, the part that does not settle, the part that does not chase, the part that refuses to confuse pain with love, you do not go back. You do not need to. You are finally home. If you are still carrying that ache, if your heart still whispers their name when the world goes quiet, know this: you are not weak. You are not behind. You are in the middle of something sacred. Loving someone who could not love you back was never a mistake. It was never proof that you are unlovable. It was a message, a wake-up call, a mirror you did not ask for but deeply needed. What it revealed was not just their absence, it was your presence, your depth, your ability to feel so fully, to stay soft in a world that asks you to be hard, to give even when it hurts. That kind of love is not failure. It is rare. But now, the story is shifting. You do not have to keep reaching for someone who cannot meet you. You do not have to keep writing letters that will never be read. You get to choose something different. You get to choose yourself. That does not mean you erase the past. It means you finally understand it. You see that the one who could not stay taught you something only loss, can teach that what you were searching for in them was always meant to be found in you. And now, you are standing at the edge of something new. You may not feel ready. You may still miss them. You may still wonder why. But look closer. That ache is softer now. That silence feels less like punishment and more like possibility. Something in you has shifted, even if you cannot name it yet. This is not the end. It is a return to your voice, to your power, to the part of you that no longer begs to be seen because she already sees herself. So if this spoke to something buried in you, do not keep it quiet. Share it. Let someone else know they are not alone. Leave a comment, write your truth, or simply say, I see myself in this. And if you want more stories that speak to the places we are told to hide, subscribe. Stay close. This is not goodbye. This is where you begin.